From the Titanic to ships lost in pirate wars, history is full of stories that sank, literally. These shipwrecks weren't just accidents. They were turning points that changed wars, saved lives, or became legends. Some were caused by storms, some by human error, and some by war. But one thing's for sure, they all left a mark. Today, we're diving deep into the top 10 shipwrecks in history. RMS Titanic was built to impress and was famously called unsinkable. On April 10, 1912, she left Southampton, England, heading to New York with over 2,200 people aboard. But on April 14th, disaster struck. She hit an iceberg just before midnight and sank within 3 hours. Lifeboats were scarce. Panic spread. Over 1,500 people died, making it one of the deadliest maritime disasters ever. The Titanic's sinking shocked the world and led to major changes in maritime safety laws, including lifeboat requirements and ice patrols. Rediscovered in 1985, the wreck sits 2 miles underwater, still intact. Movies, books, and documentaries have kept its story alive for generations. The ship was luxurious, but fate had other plans. Even today, the Titanic remains the most iconic shipwreck in the world. Proof that no ship, no matter how grand, is truly unsinkable. Her story continues to captivate people around the globe, not just for the tragedy, but for the lessons learned and the lives remembered. The wreck, preserved by freezing temperatures, is a chilling underwater memorial to human ambition and nature's ultimate power. But just 3 years later, another ocean liner would suffer a shocking fate, this time in the middle of a war zone. The RMS Lusitania was a British ocean liner known for its speed and elegance. On May 7, 1915, during World War I, the ship was just off the coast of Ireland when it was torpedoed by a German U-boat. Within 18 minutes, the vessel sank. Over 1,190 passengers and crew perished. The sinking shocked the world and caused international outrage, especially in the United States. Though America didn't enter the war until 2 years later, the Lusitania's sinking played a big role in turning public opinion against Germany. Some believed the ship was secretly carrying weapons, but that's still debated today. The tragedy marked a turning point in naval warfare, proving that civilians were no longer safe, even on luxury liners. The wreck was found in 1935 and explored in detail, but many questions still remain. Divers have recovered personal belongings, pieces of the ship, and fragments of its story. The Lusitania wasn't just a ship, it became a symbol of innocence lost in wartime, and a spark that helped ignite America's path to war. Just when it seemed the world had learned from these tragedies, another disaster unfolded in the waters of the Great Lakes. The SS Edmund Fitzgerald was a colossal American freighter, launched in 1958 to haul iron ore across the Great Lakes. It was the pride of the fleet, setting size and cargo records year after year. But on November 10, 1975, while crossing Lake Superior, a fierce storm rolled in. With winds over 75 miles per hour and waves over 30 feet high, the ship disappeared without even a distress call. All 29 crew members were lost. To this day, no one knows exactly what caused the wreck. Some blame faulty hatches. Others say it was simply overwhelmed by the storm. The wreckage was later found in 2 pieces. Canadian singer Gordon Lightfoot turned the tragedy into a haunting ballad that helped immortalize the ship. It remains the Great Lakes' most legendary and mysterious shipwreck, still studied, still mourned. But while Edmund Fitzgerald was lost to nature, the next disaster was fueled by neglect, overcrowding, and one deadly chain of human errors. MV Dona Paz wasn't just a ferry. It became the site of the deadliest peacetime shipwreck in history. On December 20th, 1987, it was sailing from Leyte Island to Manila, packed with over 4,000 passengers, many of them not even on the official list. At night, in the Tubla Strait, it collided with the oil tanker MT Vector. The impact caused a massive explosion, turning the sea into a burning inferno. Both ships caught fire, and passengers were thrown into the water with no life jackets. Rescue teams didn't arrive for hours. Only 24 people survived. Many of the victims were families returning home for the holidays, making the loss even more tragic. This tragedy, often called Asia's Titanic, led to intense scrutiny of maritime practices in the Philippines. Investigations exposed a lack of safety measures, untrained crews, and outdated emergency protocols. It's a heartbreaking example of how simple precautions could have saved thousands of lives, and a reminder of what happens when safety is ignored. Now, let's sail further back in time, to a ship whose captain was the most feared pirate to ever roam the seas. Queen Anne's Revenge was the terror of the Caribbean, captained by none other than Blackbeard himself. Originally a French slave ship called La Concorde, it was captured by Blackbeard in 1717 and transformed into a fearsome pirate vessel armed with 40 cannons. For months, it ruled the Atlantic, capturing merchant ships and spreading fear. Blackbeard's fearsome image, thick beard, slow-burning fuses in his hat, and ruthless tactics only added to the legend. But in 1718, Blackbeard ran it aground near Beaufort Inlet, North Carolina, possibly on purpose. Some say he wanted to downsize. Others believe he was evading authorities or hiding treasure. For over 270 years, the wreck remained hidden, until it was discovered in 1996, complete with cannons, anchors, and gold dust. It gave historians and archaeologists a rare, real look into the world of pirates. The artifacts recovered from the site are now displayed in museums, telling the story of one of the most infamous pirates in history, whose legend refuses to sink. From the lawless seas of the Caribbean to the battlefronts of World War I, our next shipwreck sailed not for treasure, but to save lives, and still met a tragic fate. Often called Titanic's forgotten sister, the HMHS Britannic was actually bigger and better equipped. After the Titanic sank, Britannic was redesigned with extra safety features and turned into a hospital ship during World War I. But even with all that, fate still wasn't kind. On November the 21st, 1916, while sailing near the Greek island of Kea, it hit a German naval mine. The explosion was powerful, and within 55 minutes, the ship was gone. Thankfully, 1,036 of the 1,066 people on board survived. However, 30 people lost their lives, many in lifeboats pulled into the ship's still spinning propellers. It was the largest ship to sink during World War I. The wreck was discovered in 1975, resting peacefully under the Aegean Sea. It's considered one of the most well-preserved ocean liners ever found. While Britannic never saw fame like Titanic, her story shows how even the most improved ships weren't safe from war. But if Britannic was a tale of war at sea, the next shipwreck takes us deep into royal history, with a king's favourite warship that sank under very mysterious circumstances. Built for King Henry VIII, the Mary Rose was a powerful English warship that served for over 3 decades. It was considered the pride of the Tudor Navy. On July 19, 1545, during a battle with a French fleet in the Solent Strait near Portsmouth, the Mary Rose suddenly capsized and sank, right in front of the king himself. Around 500 men were on board, and only about 35 survived. Historians still debate what caused the ship to go down. Some think it turned too sharply and took on water through open gun ports. Others blame overloading. Some accounts suggest poor communication or sudden gusts of wind as factors too. For centuries, the Mary Rose lay buried in silt, remarkably preserved by the mud and low oxygen levels. Then, in 1982, it was raised from the seabed in a massive operation watched live on television. Today, the ship and its many recovered artifacts are displayed at the Mary Rose Museum, giving an incredible look at 16th century naval life. It's not just a shipwreck, it's a time capsule from the Age of Kings, frozen in time and brought back to life. And while the Mary Rose was lost during battle, our next ship sank without a fight, but with a fortune in cargo that treasure hunters are still chasing. Flor de la Mar, meaning flower of the sea, was a Portuguese treasure ship with a tragic end and a legendary cargo. Built in 1502, this massive carrack had already survived several close calls at sea. But in November 1511, After helping conquer the city of Malacca, the ship was loaded with treasure, gold, jewels, and rare artifacts meant for the King of Portugal. It was said to be one of the richest hauls ever assembled on a single ship. While heading home, Flor de la Mar was caught in a violent storm in the Strait of Malacca. It split in two and sank, taking an estimated 400 men and unimaginable wealth with it. Only a few survived. To this day, no one has officially found the wreck. The ship remains one of the most sought-after lost treasures in history. Many have tried, using the latest technology and historical maps, but the seas keep their secrets well. If found, it could be the greatest treasure recovery ever made, and rewrite maritime history. From lost gold to luxury liners, our next shipwreck was a modern marvel, until a foggy night turned it into one of Canada's deadliest maritime disasters. The RMS Empress of Ireland was a Canadian ocean liner making regular transatlantic trips. On May 29, 1914, it left Quebec bound for Liverpool. Just hours into the journey, disaster struck. In thick fog near the mouth of the St. Lawrence River, the Empress collided with a Norwegian cargo ship, the SS Storstad. The impact tore a huge hole in the Empress's side. Within just 14 minutes, the ship sank. Of the 1,477 people on board, 1,012 lost their lives, many trapped in their cabins as the ship quickly flooded. It became one of the worst maritime disasters in Canadian history, though it's often overshadowed by the Titanic. The wreck now rests in shallow waters and has attracted divers for decades. Artifacts recovered include silver bars, the ship's bell, and other haunting reminders of the tragedy. And now, from a river tragedy to the heart of a world war, our final shipwreck was a symbol of American strength until it became a permanent memorial beneath the waves. The USS Arizona was a mighty American battleship launched in 1915 and stationed at Pearl Harbor, Hawaii. On the morning of December 7, 1941, Japanese forces launched a surprise attack on the harbor. The Arizona was struck by multiple bombs, one igniting a massive explosion in its forward ammunition magazine. In just 9 minutes, the ship sank, taking 1,177 sailors and Marines with it. It became the deadliest loss of life on any US ship during the attack. Today, the wreck is a national memorial, resting quietly beneath the waves. The USS Arizona Memorial, built above the wreck, attracts millions of visitors every year. Drops of oil still rise to the surface, called the Tears of Arizona. It remains a powerful symbol of sacrifice and the beginning of America's role in World War II. From royal warships to wrecks still leaking oil, these shipwrecks are more than history. They are legends resting beneath the waves. Which one fascinated you the most? Let us know in the comments, and we'll see you in the next one.